this is Cleone from IamCleone.com. I am here with
Rathika Sitsabaiesan.
And she is the
Federal Member of Parliament for Scarborough Rouge River.
She's really awesome. We just finished our mentoring session and it was a really great meeting. And now we're going to talk about mental illness. So I have a few questions for Rathika. The first question is, why is it important to bring more awareness to mental illness?
That mental health as a whole is a large topic that's not talked about enough, and so anybody who is willing to and who is able to have conversations about mental health need to. You say mental illness, we say mental wellness, we say mental health, whatever it is, whatever packaging it's coming in, the topic needs to be addressed and discussed. And it's traditionally with the cultural communities that I belong to, and culture community that you belong to, and many of us belong to, and also just society as a whole, mental health is a taboo and is not something that's talked about. And the brave souls that are willing to be brave and courageous need to talk about it, and so that's why it's great that you are talking about it, Cleone. And everybody suffers from some sort of mental health issue at some point in their life. And that doesn't mean that they personally may be affected because of a mental health or mental wellness or mental illness, but it could be somebody who they love or somebody who they're close to. And so everybody is touched by mental health, and we need to make sure that the more people who are aware of what mental illness is, more people who are aware of mental wellness and overall mental health, can actually be stronger, better, supportive community members and supportive allies for somebody who may be in a spiral or who may be in a situation where they need that support. And the more you know, the more you're able to be supportive. And so that's why it's important to have these conversations, whether it's with strangers or with loved ones or partners or sisters and brothers, and as community members as a whole, it's important to have these conversations.
Exactly, I agree, because I mean, having a mental illness, you definitely need a really strong support system, and unfortunately not a lot of people know how to support people. So yeah, just being, moving out of the box of ignorance and actually moving into an understanding and knowledgeable, it definitely will help people in the community. So I totally agree with you. Second is, how does mental illness affect our community? How do you think it affects our community?
I guess I started to talk about that in the first answer. It affects everyone. It affects everyone in many parts of their lives. In your workplace, there is somebody who is suffering from a mental health issue, mental illness. There is, whether your workplace is of 5 people or of 500 people, there is at least one person who is going through something right now. And in our community, there's so many people who need the supports and support networks. And as we continue to build our social net, mental health needs to be part of the services and programming that we're making available as government or as people in public service. We need to be making sure that we're providing a holistic approach to health and well-being and wellness, and that includes not just physical and spiritual wellness, but it also includes mental health.
Awesome. Okay, the next one is, why do you think it's important for sufferers or people who are living with mental illness to be given an opportunity to share their stories?
First of all, it's, I think, part of the healing process to be able to go through whatever it is that they are going through or that they had gone through, and to be strong enough and brave enough to actually speak of it. It's a huge step in the right direction for progress for that person's health. And it's important that there are platforms available for people to speak of their experiences for their own health and well-being and their recovery, but it's also, I think, useful for other people who might be in a similar situation but don't know what is going on. Or they do know but they feel alone, and then they can say, oh well, she's going through she's saying what I'm feeling, so then I'm not alone. Maybe there is somebody I can talk to, and maybe they will actually think that they don't have to suffer in silence, suffer by themselves, and go speak to a counselor or speak to any healthcare professional, or just reach out to somebody. When I was a Don in the residence at Queen's University, I had many students who were suffering with, many of my residents who were suffering with mental health issues, who I was the first person they spoke with because they felt safe. And they knew that I was a human being who was also going through similar situations as they were, so they felt that they could speak to me. And creating those avenues, and whether it's a public platform or a very private platform, having those platforms available is, I think, important.
Okay. And why do you think Happy Home 42, which is a talk show to raise awareness for mental illness, would be a great initiative for this province?
Well, I think it's a great initiative, period, not necessarily for the city or the province or country, but it's a good initiative because, I mean, you are being one of those brave people who is saying, you know, I've been diagnosed with bipolar, and I'm living my life, and I'm going to make a positive example of my life. And instead of being somebody who is taking medication and sitting in a corner in my mom's house in the basement, I am going to be out there in the world and absorb as much sunshine as I can and exude positivity and help whoever I can touch in my life. And that's the epitome of what I think people should be doing in community, is finding that silver lining, finding those blessings in your life, and finding the positivity and being grateful for that, and being able to share. And if somebody else needs a shoulder to lean on or a hand to hold, then being able to be that supportive person because somebody was supportive for you.
Right.
And when you really needed it, somebody was there, whether they expected anything, a thank you back or anything back, they were there. And you don't know whose lives you can have an impact in, because you don't know exactly where somebody else is. They might tell you that they're going through one thing, but there might be something even more deeper and bigger that they're dealing with, and just knowing that you were there might be enough for them to know that they're not alone in this world. There was one of my residents, I'm going to go back to that, who I was able to talk her out of suicide.
Wow.
Just because she felt like her whole family had abandoned her. She had no friends she could turn to who she felt were going to be supportive of her situation at the time. And she was actually going to jump off of a beam that was 3 floors high. And, you know, and I joined her on the beam and sat down and had a conversation with her. And she knew that she wasn't alone, and from then on she made sure to check in and have conversations with me, and she knew that I was one person who would listen and who was there in her corner to support her through the situation that she was dealing with at the time. And now she's a happy, healthy young woman.
Amazing.
So
amazing.
I didn't expect anything. I just wanted to make sure she knew that she had an ear and a shoulder and a tissue box, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's all I don't expect anything back. And knowing that your show is going to be an avenue, a platform, something where people can hear my story or your story, it's, I think, going to be beneficial for the community as a whole.
Awesome. The last question is, do you have any final words, any comments you would like to make, etc., etc., etc.?
Thank you for doing what you're doing, and I know it's not easy. I know it's starting something new is difficult and challenging, but if it's easy, then it's not worth it.
Definitely.
Being Ontario's youngest member of parliament, or the first woman of color who was representing this community, is not easy. But it's extremely rewarding.
Right.
Because I know that there's so much love in this community. And I feel that love, and I find that love every day when I'm walking around the community. And focus on the positives. It's easy for me to say right now, but sometimes I'm just like, but come back, find those blessings, and be grateful for them. And like I said earlier, everybody's touched by mental health, and in one way or the other. And I'm a huge proponent of counseling and taking advantage of a lot of the healthcare services that are available in this province. And hey, if it wasn't for Tommy Douglas, we wouldn't have this amazing healthcare system that we have. So very proud of the work that our social democratic system in this country has, and the work that our leaders who came before us have done, and we stand on the shoulders of giants, and let's continue their work.
Awesome. Well, this is Cleone from IamCleone.com signing off. Take care.